media. As consumers, we are bombarded by it at every turn, like the Incredible Hulk being bombarded by gamma rays. But what makes some media endure, while others are banished to the forgotten black hole of obscurity, never to be heard from again? Who or what decides this? Hetero life mates Steve and Yahel want to know, and they want to know now. This is Obscurity Now. And what's up, Obscurians? It's time for another episode of Obscurity Now, the show that takes a look at weird and almost forgotten pieces of media. Then we try to decide if they should be remembered for all of human history or tossed in the black void of obscurity, never to be heard from again. My name is Steve, and with me, he picked this movie because of its staunch views on anti-birth control. It
is Yahel. Yes, I would be a worthless individual in this dystopian future where fertile men and women are the most valued commodity.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So you must have felt like that there was no representation for you in this movie.
Well, actually, there's too much representation in a way. I'm the majority finally.
Right. But you're represented in a quite foul way because
I'm just kind of useless.
Basically, all the men who aren't Roddy Piper are useless in this movie. Well, except for Looney Tunes, aka Rory Calhoun. Is this the first time you've ever seen a movie with Rory Calhoun in it?
It is. I was very surprised by his giant IMDb.
Yeah, I only know him from a single Simpsons reference. Have you ever heard that name before?
No.
I got to bring it up because I know at least one of the people who listens to us is a big Simpsons fan.
So you said that there's a big Rory Calhoun fan.
No, it's just there's this episode. All right, it's I think it's called 101 Greyhounds, where Bart's dog gives birth to like a whole bunch of he gets a girlfriend and she gives birth to a whole bunch of greyhounds. Mr. Burns steals them. He wants to turn all the puppies into a coat for himself, but he decides to save one, and he says, Smithers, because only one puppy can stand up while all the other ones can't. And he's like, Smithers, who's that fellow who's always standing and walking? And Smithers starts naming off like random, I don't know, famous people or whatever, and he lands on Rory Calhoun, and Mr. Burns goes, yes, Rory Calhoun, that's the guy. And that name is stuck in my head ever since then. And once I even found his star on the Walk of Fame out here and took a picture next to it. Got a lot of likes in the Simpsons chat groups, but I'm sorry for boring everyone with Rory Calhoun here.
Mm-hmm. What a story, Mark.
It is. Hey, the one guy who likes the Simpsons, he will appreciate that. Oh, I know all the other Simpsons fans will too. But anyway, so Hell Comes to Frogtown. Had you seen it before?
No, I had only just seen like a few clips of it online, and I did not know what it was about.
Oh man, well now you do. I'll say that I definitely watched this back in the DVD days of Netflix. I remember I got it from there. And I remember liking it. It's been a while. I mean, of course, it's, it's not exactly They Live if you're a big fan of the Roddy Piper.
It's definitely not.
Filmography, but it's got its, I mean, I don't want to give away too much, but...
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's spoiling anything to say that They Live is the better movie.
Sure. Well, I mean, it just depends on what you're in the mood for, because, I mean, They Live, I would say, is a bit more serious. And Hell Comes to Frogtown has sort of a lighter kind of action adventure kind of tone. Is that fair to say, I think?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes, all right. So without further ado, shall we dive deeper into Hell Comes to Frogtown?
Yes, let's dive in deep enough to impregnate the listeners.
All right, okay, here we go. Weirdo.
Welcome to your feature presentation.
Oh, I forgot to open my notes. Just give me 1 second. But What other Roddy Piper movies have you seen besides this one and They Live?
Um, Man, I'm trying to think. I feel almost like I've seen him more in like random TV stuff
Right.
than movies, to be honest. I mean, I've seen it, I saw him in Always Sunny in Philadelphia, of
Mm-hmm.
course.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I don't really think I've seen him in a lot of movies.
You've never seen I remember one time they ran it on Joe Bob back in the Nitro days, and I think Roddy actually hosted with him. It was Immortal Kombat.
Oh, I know he's in it. I don't think I've ever watched it though.
Yeah, that one is pretty good. Actually, I think it was a double feature with Hell Comes to Frogtown and yeah, Immortal Kombat.
See, I remember he was in an episode of Highlander.
Hmm.
I remember he was in an episode of Silk Stockings, senior, not
Oh,
junior.
thanks for clearing that up.
Yeah. And like he did, I want to say Zorro, maybe.
Zorro.
Um, yeah, there used to be like a syndicated Zorro TV show.
I think I vaguely in the '90s, obviously the '90s.
Yeah, like early 90s.
Man, I
Let me
vaguely
Yeah,
remember that.
he was in two episodes of Zorro as two different characters. Yeah, it was 90 and 91. So,
Well, I guess since we're talking about it, if you can't get enough of Roddy Piper acting, you should definitely check out our review of RoboCop the series, his specific episode where he guest starred. And if you're like us and you just can't get enough of pro wrestlers acting and things, we've reviewed a bunch of stuff that has Sting, the wrestler Sting, in it. Not to mention our multiple Hulk Hogan episodes. So there's plenty of pro wrestling content to go around. But anyway, back to Hell Comes to Frogtown. It had a limited release in the U.S. July 1st, 1988. And here's a synopsis. After a worldwide nuclear war, where 68% of the male population was wiped out and virile men becoming a rarity, Sam Hell, a scavenger and highly virile man, is assigned to help rescue a group of fertile women kidnapped by humanoid frogs. And this is directed by two guys. It took two dudes to bring you Hell Comes to Frogtown. One was just not enough. Donald G. Jackson. And man, if you check out his IMDb, it reads, I think pretty much anything he's involved with is probably worth covering by us. I don't know if you realize it, but there's actually sort of four sequels to Hell Comes to Frogtown, Return to Frogtown, something called Toad Warrior, and then they've got a weird sort of, I don't know, re-editing of that called Max Hell Frog Warrior. And then it's Max Hell Frog Warrior, the Zen Rough Cut. But man, I was reading the reviews on those other, Frogtown sequels, and they were not good. They were not good.
I can't imagine that they were.
But I know I am interested in Frogtown 2, though, because it has Robert Zadar, a.k.a. the Maniac Cop. Are you familiar with the works of Robert Zadar?
No, Maniac Cop though, I think I've heard of.
He's if you ever see him, you'll never forget him. I don't know if he had like a disease or something, but he's got like a massively massive like cartoon chin, kind of. Yeah. Look him up. Anyway, moving on. Oh yeah, he also had a few other sort of fun-sounding titles, including Mimes, Silent but Deadly, and Naked Avenger. And his co-director here, who was also the editor, is one R.J. Kaiser. And he doesn't do a lot of directing. Most of his sort of expertise is in the sound department. But I guess there in Godzilla 1985, there were American segments that I guess were shot and edited in. And he directed those. And then something else called Death Ring. And then we've got the writer here. That's right. Hell Comes to Frogtown has a writer. And it's one Randall Frakes, no relation to that guy you probably dream about every night.
Jonathan Frakes?
Yes.
I checked already.
I
There's
bet
no relation.
I bet you did. But this was interesting to all you retro gaming aficionados out there. He wrote, he basically wrote the story for the True Lies video game for the Genesis and the SNES. You ever play that game?
I did. I don't remember anything about it, but I do know. In fact, I rented it.
Oh, me too. Yeah, I loved it, even though it was really hard. But I'm a big fan of those overhead, run and gun 360 whatever type
Like
games.
Ikari Warrior style.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He also wrote Rollerblade Warriors Taken by Force. And he also somehow ran the music department in James Cameron's Aliens. So it's weird. I feel like most of the people behind the camera here, I guess aside from Donald Jackson, are guys that sort of just do a little bit of everything. Like wherever they can sort of weasel their way into a movie, that's what they
Yeah.
do. Either that or they were trying to broaden their horizons. And there's no, I guess, in terms of the industry, there's no better place to do that than New World Pictures, which is, we've talked about New World, which is the producer of this film. And we've talked about New World before. It's Roger Corman's company. They were responsible for that Nick Fury TV movie that we covered a while back.
Well,
Carnosaur. What's up?
sorry, go ahead. Keep going. Didn't
No.
even cut you off.
No, I'm good. What's up?
I was just gonna say, like, yeah, when you were talking about people behind the camera, the guy that did the creature effects here, Steve Wang, before he did Hell Comes to Frogtown, he worked on Predator in the creature effects unit. He was a sculptor on Harry and the Hendersons. He also worked on Monster Squad. So he actually had three pretty well-known, bigger budget, certainly movies under his belt. So I was a little surprised to see that he got tapped for Hell Comes to Frogtown. I guess we can talk more about the creatures when they kind of pop up or as they pop up, because they do vary in quality.
For sure. But I'm glad you brought him up because he did the makeup effects obviously this is a very low budget, and it was shot over the course of 19 days. And where did it go? The guy here, Steve Wang, he basically did the effects very cheap.
It was for $12,000.
Yes, thank you. All right, so yeah, that does it for me. Aside from Roddy Piper, who else is in front of the camera here?
Yeah, we've already mentioned Roddy Piper, so we don't really need to get into him. He does play the titular character, Sam Hell, hence Hell Comes to Frogtown. There's a lot of people in this movie, so I'm just going to name a few. And most of them, even though some of them do have pretty extensive backlog of work, a lot of it's like nothing you're going to recognize them in. So kind of go through it quick, but if there's anybody you feel is important, I miss Steven. I don't want you to get froggy. Feel free to jump in and
oh man, these jokes are giving me warts.
Anyways, we've got, I don't know how to pronounce this name. Sekverl. Her first name is CEC.
Right. I'm not familiar with this actress.
Cease? Cess? Is it like maybe short for Cease? Like, anyways.
CC?
Yeah, and it's weird. Did you notice in the credits, she's kind of like given like second highest billing?
I think I was reading where her role was actually cut down due to budget problems, but
that's too bad. I thought she like did good. Like I really liked all her scenes, all her delivery. I thought she was good.
Yeah, very good. Mm-hmm.
Anyways, Seek says plays Sentinella. Ironically enough, easier to pronounce.
Yeah.
She's got not a ton of credits, but she had some guest spots on a few shows you've heard of, like NYPD Blue. She was on an episode of X-Files, Murder, She Wrote. Actually, quite a few people in this cast were on Murder, She Wrote, but Murder, She Wrote was like it's like Star Trek. Like everyone's been on it. Everyone's in a guest spot.
I wish Roddy Piper would have been on Murder, She Wrote.
Yeah, that would have been fun. Like him and Louise Fletcher, whatever the character's name, Jessica Fletcher.
Yeah.
Going at it, arguing that I bet they would have had like some fun scenes together.
Heck yeah.
Playing Spangle, which is like a nurse / general in the army. I never got her rank.
Yeah, right.
slash scientist. But anyways, played by Sandal Bergman.
Hmm.
Yeah, Bergman.
Hmm.
She had a pretty extensive career, 50 credits to her name. Again, did some guest spots and some things you might recognize. A lot of stuff that is just, straight to video crap. But she was in an episode of Sliders. She was in an episode of Silk Stockings Senior. She was in an episode of Murder, She Wrote. She was even in an episode of Tech War, Tech Justice. Actually, that's like a TV movie.
Nice.
But yeah, she's in a bunch of other stuff. I was kind of surprised.
You can't, if I may, Yahel, you can't forget Conan the Barbarian, where I would say most people recognize her from. Also, I mean, she was also in Red Sonja. She was basically part of the original Conan CU, if you will.
Okay.
And then, of course, she did a lot of sort of, I don't know, softcore stuff.
Like Skinamax.
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, for sure. Stewardess School, Program to Kill. I don't know. I've never seen that, but it sounds fun. Swamp Thing. She was in the TV series Swamp Thing.
For those that are just listening, Steve is doing this off memory. He's got his eyes closed and he's just rubbing himself, reliving the memories.
Sorceress 2, The Temptress, was Oscar worthy, dare I say. And The Singing Detective, I guess she was a dancer in that. Well, you can only imagine, 2003.
I think we can imagine the kind of role she was getting
Yes.
based on her acting ability.
Oh, you didn't think she was very good?
She was okay.
Yeah,
but
I mean, clearly she's, someone that you hire, because of her looks. But I think she tries.
Yeah. I don't think anybody phoned it in or anything like that.
No, everyone tried real hard.
All right, up next we've got William Smith, who I believe eats sandpaper for breakfast. Wow, this is the most graveliest of voices you've ever heard. Anyways, William Smith plays Captain Devlin and also, spoiler alert, Count Sodom. Although if you don't figure that out from the first time you hear Count Sodom, you're a fool. So William Smith, really big resume, 278 credits to his name. But again, a lot of stuff like Zombiegeddon, Rock and Roll Chops 2, God Has a Rap Sheet.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely a sort of B-movie, I don't know, kind of star, if you will.
Yeah. But, this wasn't his first time working with a Frakes. He was in an episode of Beyond Belief, Fact or Fiction, hosted by Jonathan Frakes. Unfortunately, he was not good enough to be in Star Trek, apparently, but he was in Cybernator, if that's something you want to watch.
Well, you do know there is sort of a Star Trek connection on this.
Oh, I missed it if there is one, because I just looked at the actors.
It's, it's not...
Not all of them.
It's, we'll get to it. It happens at the end.
Oh, okay. Well, by the way, William Smith also... Oh, yeah, where they were shooting. Yeah, I know that. I recognize that.
All right.
Oh, yeah, right away. The Vasquez Rocks? Oh, my God. There's been so much Star Trek shot there.
I've been there. I've been to the Vasquez Rocks.
No, what did you do there? The way you said it sounded...
Oh, I was working a catering gig, and it was on a indie film, and not a Silk Stockings one.
Oh, Sandal Bergman wasn't there?
Unfortunately not, no. It was...
Well, William Smith was also in Conan the Barbarian. Funny how you didn't point that out.
Yeah, there it is. Wow. Conan's father. How could I forget that? Oh, well.
I guess your attention was somewhere else.
Oh, zing!
Anyways, then we've got Christy Summers, who plays Arabella, which is one of the frogs. Cliff Bennis plays, and she had a pretty short career. Cliff Bennis plays Leroy. 68 credits to his name, but just a lot of guest spots. Nothing really major there. We've got Nicholas Worth playing Bull, which is another frog. Nicholas has 101 credits to his name. I should have saved him for last, Steven, because I didn't notice this the first time. He is in 2 episodes of Star Trek Voyager.
Holy shit. So, should I run it now?
Yeah, he's the only one.
Okay, here we go.
Ah! Oh no! We've just entered another Star Trek connection! Ah!
There you go. So we already got
I feel better already.
Right, and then we got the Vasquez Rocks taken care of. All right, Star
Yeah.
Trek connections all around.
And last but not least, we already talked about him a little bit. Rory Calhoun. He's got a crap ton of credits to his name. 127 credits, but when I mention these credits, it doesn't mean like he was in, for the listener, he might have 127 credits, but like 100 episodes of that could have been a TV show.
Sure.
So he might actually be in hundreds of things. And according to his bio, he was in over 80 films and 1,000 television episodes. And I was like, 1,000 TV episodes? And yeah, sure enough, there was a TV show that ran from 1982 to 1987. This must have been a soap opera. And he was in 1,248 episodes.
Wow, that's crazy.
Of this show, which is, I think that's the most we've ever seen, right?
I think you're probably right. And he's always standing and walking, ladies and gentlemen. Always.
Yes. He's not even the one with the most episodes in this cast. There's a few people that have like 10 more episodes than him. But yeah, pretty crazy. And that rounds out the cast that I thought was worth bringing up.
And I agree with those selections.
I forgot to mention Rory plays a character named Looney Tunes.
Yes, Looney Tunes.
Not sure how they got away with that, but okay.
It's just, you can't copyright.
No, I know. There's no confusion. It's not like he's like a cartoon or something.
Right. All right. Well, you ready to take us through the first half?
I thought you were doing the first half. I'm kidding. Relax.
You son of a bitch.
Okay. Yes. Let me just take a quick swig of red liquid. All right. So we open up with a recap, kind of telling us about the nuclear war that happened that led to the state of where things are at. Found out that there was a huge war. I guess it's implied it was like World War III, and people thought like that was going to be the last big war. But then 10 years later, they did it again and had another war, another nuclear war. So now we're in a Mad Max from Temu kind of scenario.
It's a good way of putting it. I was going to ask, because of course I already have it built. If you were going to pitch this movie to Roger Corman, what like 2 or 3 movies like mixed together would you say Hell Comes to Frogtown is?
Ooh, I guess I would definitely have to throw Mad Max in there, just because of some of the scenery. There's a lot of sand.
Yes.
And second, I don't know. I guess something with like some kind of animatronics. I can't really think of a good one. Did you have one in mind?
Yes. Well, Mad Max is good because it definitely becomes that in the third act at the end.
Yeah,
I would say
more so than
it's that plus Escape to New York plus Planet of the Apes, but instead of apes, they're frogs.
Okay, yeah. I think that's actually pretty spot on. All right, so we open on like some kind of scavenger who's all covered up head to toe. He's like picking up like a little miniature statue of the Statue of Liberty figurine, and then he's attacked by some other guy who's not wearing like a suit. Anyways, they kind of get into a scuffle. The scavenger gets thrown to the ground, and then the bad guy hears a gun clicking. That guy tells him, "Hey, greeners can't have guns," and the scavenger shoots him. And then we get a close up on the scavenger guy who croaks, like he goes, "Ribbit." And that's our cold open. What did you think?
I definitely didn't remember the cold open, but I don't know. I was like off to a good start, though. I mean, I love post-apocalyptic stuff. And the fact that it was, they had their little Statue of Liberty, which I guess is supposed to be some kind of symbolism or something. I was already on board. How about yourself?
Yeah, I assume that this character that Sodom was going to kind of come up again later. I mean, is it supposed to be Sodom?
I think
it can't be because he croaks like a frog. So
no,
I guess it's not.
I think
him.
it's supposed to be this guy Squid Lips. He's like the first person. The first 2 people listed in the cast, because it's in order of Squid Lips and the Poor Doofus. But yeah, it is weird that these characters never really come into play. I don't know. I think that might say something to how film was shot or something. They probably had ideas for them, but then once because I was reading in the trivia, it says they initially had a $3 million budget that went down to $1 million. So Mr. Frakes here had to do quite the rewrite in order to make the film work. Yeah, but other than that, I mean, it kind of grabs you into the world more or less.
Yeah, it's a little weird because there's basically like two cold opens in a way, but yeah, I thought it was fine. Yeah, I guess it kind of sets the tone, but I don't think the film like really gains or loses anything with whether it was there or not. I don't think it really makes
Yeah,
a
you could
difference,
edit it out and it wouldn't really matter. Yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
point. Yeah.
All right, then we get after the credits, which are like the opening credits are kind of like stills of the characters
Felt
and like
very 70s-ish to me, like Planet of the
like a
Apes.
TV show.
Yeah, that too. And since you just mentioned TV show, can we say, all right, yes, this is a low-budget film, but the thing I feel like that suffers the most is they clearly are using like canned music for the soundtrack. Like,
Yeah.
and I hate it. I absolutely hate it. The whole time I was thinking, man, is there a way I can use like Premiere to erase that soundtrack and then put in a new one with like synthesizers or something? Because I think it would help out a lot.
Yeah, the soundtrack's not great,
It's
for
just
sure.
forgettable. I wouldn't say it hurts the movie.
It's generic.
Yeah, very generic. Yeah.
Again, WCW entrance theme
Oh,
music.
not even that good.
All right, so after the credits, we see Sam Hell, who's played by Piper again. He's like in a chair getting beaten up by a cop. Then like two women dressed as nurses come in. Later, we'll find out one of them is named Spangle. They tell the cop to stop beating him because the cop's daughter, that I guess it's that Sam, I guess the implication that he like assaulted her.
Yeah,
Uh,
but
Changed.
yeah, but what really happened was they just got caught having sex, and yeah, the
Right,
cop
right.
here is Captain Devlin, and yeah, he's none too happy about that.
Right. Because at first they do make it seem like Sam Hell might be like it is like a sexual predator,
Right.
and I was like, this is gonna be the hero. I was like, oh no.
Anti-heroes
is
were
not-
all the rage back then. You hell, come on,
That's not an anti-hero.
it's
Steve.
just an anti.
That's a criminal.
Yeah.
That's an asshole. But yeah, like you said, that's not really what's happening. Anyways, so the daughter changed her story when she found out she was pregnant. And Captain Devon's like, oh my God, no, that can't be. And because of this, basically Piper, because they find out he's like a fertile guy, that now he's very important to the government, and they're going to take him away. So, yeah, this is also when we kind of learn that the Earth's population was reduced by 68% because of the wars, and most people are fertile, both men and women. So, like, basically now we're like in an office with the two nurses and Piper, and they put on like this. They call it an ECR. It's like a big chastity belt.
Yeah, a mechanical
Basically.
chastity belt.
Yeah. And they have him sign a contract, and they basically make him government property until he fulfills the contract, which is basically they're tasking him with impregnating a certain number of fertile women in the wasteland. We also find out that only Spangles is going to be able to unlock his chastity belt. But there's a flap.
Yeah,
To,
that's a fun little running gag. Yeah, because Roddy, he's like, how am I supposed to, and they just go, there's a flap. And that's just sort of like a running gag throughout the film.
Yeah, and we also find out during this scene that Earth is still, humans are still at war, but now they're at war with the Greeners, which are these mutated frogs that were created as a result of the nuclear war.
They're basically Battletoads.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So they like take Piper out of the building, and there's like this pink car. Dude, do you know what kind of car that was?
I'm not a car guy. I just called it the pink wagon. It looked like a classic sort of, I think 60s or maybe like late 50s model, kind of station wagony looking thing.
You know what it looked like? It looked like that car Chrysler put out that was supposed to look like a car from the 40s. It was popular for a little bit.
Cruiser?
Yeah, it looked a little bit like obviously it can't be
Right.
a
It
PT
did
Cruiser.
look
It's
like
like
a
20
PT
years
Cruiser.
before it, but it looked like a pink PT Cruiser. It was so weird.
Can we talk about
Uh,
how Roddy, is this when they first show him in like in his regular civilian garb?
yeah, yeah, when they take him out of the
How would you
building.
describe how he's dressed?
He's like wearing like jeans and was it like a flannel button-up shirt? I
I
mean,
think he looks like he's going to a Pearl Jam concert. Now, I don't know if Pearl Jam was around in 1988, but this is on the cusp before things started moving into the grunge era,
yeah,
if you
yeah,
will. So Roddy
yeah.
was
He does look a big grunge.
Roddy was a trendsetter here.
Yeah. All right. So they tell him that they're gonna put him in this car, and I guess like this branch of the military is called MedTech.
Mm-hmm.
And oh yeah, and it's also one thing I forgot to mention, implied heavily that I guess it's not implied heavily, like basically like women for the most part run things.
Yes, yes.
At the very least have a lot of authority because like Captain Devlin, like he complains about it while he's like beating up Piper and the nurses come in and tell him to stop.
And
And
Stendhal
this
kicks his
division,
ass.
yeah, so this is like a division of the military called
I
MedTech,
think they're
I
implying
guess.
that there's a combination. It's a military-industrial complex, Yahel. It's medtech and the
Right.
military working together, just like they are today.
I guess so. Anyways, so he doesn't want to get in the car, but they're like, you have to because we can make your ECR chastity belt
Mm-hmm.
explode whenever we want. You sign a contract, blah, 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 blah. So they make him get in this car. Spangle's coming along. She's going to be driving it. And this is where we meet Sentinella,
Mm-hmm.
who's like sticking out of the sunroof. And there's like a machine gun in the sunroof.
Right.
And she's supposed to be like so she's like a badass
Yes, she
basically,
is.
like your quintessential 80s
She's
badass.
the Norman from Mighty Max. If you listen to our last episode.
Yeah. And yeah, and her military gear is scantily clad. Uh, there's a lot of interesting military gear that was issued
Sure, and of course,
throughout.
if women were running the military, that's exactly how they would choose to dress.
Sure, surely that's what they would choose. All right, so where are we at?
We're almost on the
Blah, blah, they're
road.
in the tech car,
Mm-hmm.
so they're on the road now, and there's some arguing on the way there. We end up pulling up to like a border patrol, but we find out that basically they're going to go to Frogtown once they get through the border section, and they're going to go find this group of like fertile women that have been kidnapped by frogs in Frogtown,
Mm-hmm.
and they want to free them and have Piper
Yeah,
Sam Hell, excuse me, impregnate.
right. They couldn't just wait to rescue the ladies and then bring them back into the normal human zone. He's got to do them right then and there, you hell.
Yeah, real weird. I guess they don't have artificial insemination for some reason.
Right, yeah. I also thought about that.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't like explain why that's not an option or
Ah,
I don't know, something, but
just
whatever.
got to go
It's
with it.
also not that kind of movie,
Right.
you know. So they get to the border, and guess who's been reassigned to man this border station? It's
Captain
Captain
Devlin.
Devlin.
Yep.
So he's all mad that they've got Sam Hell, and he threatens to like shoot them. He's like, I could just send this here, and then Sentinella's like, or I could blow you guys away. And Captain Devlin said, "This ain't over." Actually, he's one. This ain't over.
Whoa, that is a good impression. You're going to go far with that. Watch out, open mic in Tampa. Hell's coming for
Yeah.
you with his impression of Captain Devlin.
So, he says this ain't over yet, but he lets them through, and then they're on their way to find these women.
Mm-hmm.
They stop to put gas in the car at one point. Sam asks to go pee. And actually,
Can I just jump in there? I like the transition into the gas scene because, again, they were talking about, having sex, basically. And then it's a hard cut to Sentinella jamming that gas can into the car.
Yeah.
Yeah, the gas hole or whatever it's
yeah.
called. Yeah.
So Sam asks to go pee, and they're like, "Yeah, go ahead." And he's like, "Oh, no armed escort." And Spangle's like, "Nah, go ahead. I don't care.
Mhm.
You're not gonna go far." He goes to go pee supposedly, but instead he tries to escape. So he starts running, and then his chastity belt starts beeping, and he's keels over in pain, and then Spangle walks over to him, and here's where we find out that if he gets too far away from her earrings, that the ECR will cause him like all this intense pain. She also mentions that if anyone tries to take it off, it will explode.
Yeah, and this is a good. I mean, obviously, this is setting up stuff that's going to pay off later. The beeping sound, like the closer he gets back towards Spangle, it like drops in tone, basically, so you can
Yeah,
like hear it, and that actually pays
and
off.
there's more time between the beeps.
Yes, yes, and it pays off later. Like at first, I was like, "Why does it matter?" But then they show us later.
Yeah. They do pay it off. So, all right. So now it's nighttime, and they've set up a campfire. Spangle comes out of the tent wearing like lacy themed army
Oh
lingerie.
man, that was hilarious. Yeah, she's basically her underwear is also camouflaged for some reason because again,
Right.
if women were running the military, that's what they would wear. Uh,
Apparently.
yeah, and so she's like teasing him, sort of.
So yeah, this didn't make any sense to me. So she like seduces him
Hmm.
and like is like, oh, maybe you can get some practice with me or whatever. And he's like, oh, at first he's like, no, but then he's like, oh, okay. So he like grabs her to starts making out with her. But then I guess she touches her earring, which ends up turning on like the pain thing in his ECR. So like now his groin is hurting, and he's like, what'd you do that for? And she's like, I'm sorry, it's part of my job to keep you excited.
Yes, that is
What?
exactly it. That's exact. Yeah, she has to tease him, I guess, to keep the little Piper swimming through the pipes, basically.
That doesn't make any sense because they had already said that he was like one of the most. They had already done a test on him, and he was one of the most fertile men like that they had ever like read their reading
It's
on.
not good enough for
So
med tech, you hell. It's got to be.
and you and your body reabsorbs your semen like if you don't use it in 48 hours anyway. So like I mean like
Look,
I don't know. I just thought it was a really weird scene that like added nothing.
well, it's just an excuse to have Stendhal or Sendal, stripped down. It sounds like a Mortal Kombat character, right?
I mean, it was an excuse to try and set up like a little like love connection between them.
Right. Well, there's
Is what it
that. I mean,
was.
but there's a whole love triangle go sort of at not really a triangle. Basically, all the girls want Roddy, as we're about to see.
Yeah. But yeah, I just thought it was like more confusing than anything. And if you wanted to like establish that they might have a thing for each other,
Hmm.
like there's other ways that you could have done it.
Yeah.
Like just have Piper turn her down.
Well, I'd say there's a lot of confusing stuff about their romance, as we're going to see. I feel like the script overall is probably better than you'd expect, but yeah, it definitely has some problems.
Yeah, there's some holes or I don't know, maybe missing scenes or
Right.
that would help make things make a little bit more sense. But anyways, so then Sentinella, so like Spangles goes back into her tent or
Hmm.
whatever. Now Sentinella comes over and tries seducing Piper, and because of his reputation, I guess as being like quite the lover,
Yeah.
and she just straight up gets like naked and jumps on top
Yep.
of him.
Hmm.
And she's like, Sentinella's like, how do we? And he's like, there's a
Yeah.
flag. Uh,
Yes.
anyways, but then like Spangles comes out. Oh, Sentinella makes says something about how like it's against regulations because she's not fertile, but she has to have them.
Hmm.
Anyways, they're interrupted by Spangle, and she like like grabs her earring like she's gonna turn on the ECR or whatever. And he goes, "Holy shit!" and
Yeah.
throws Sentinella off him. And Sentinella Spangle has kind of a funny line where she says, "You're out of uniform, Corporal."
Yeah, see, that was good. There's some decent lines in this for sure. And yep, old Sam is left with the old blue balls that night.
Yep. So now we're it's daytime again, and there's a lot of driving in the desert.
Yeah, this is
Uh,
where I feel like the film kind of drags, but
yeah,
definitely I would say don't give up on it. And it definitely shows its sort of lack of money because this is probably where they had to do a rewrite. And because I was thinking, in Escape from New York, we get like a little opening where they explain what Snake is going to do. Then he basically spends the rest of the runtime of the film in New York, on his little adventure, where they don't get to Frogtown till almost the halfway point of the runtime of the film here. And I think that definitely just shows that they just didn't have a lot of money.
Yeah, and I agree. And I mean, I would have preferred, instead of like all these shots of them driving in the desert, like have, because like you said, it makes a film drag out, and it's not a long movie. It's an hour and 28 minutes, if I remember correctly. I would have rather just like had some other scenes between the characters, fleshing some of the stuff out and making it less confusing.
Right. Well, I think this was the sort of character building, if you will, and what is supposed to be the building of the relationship between Sam and Spangle. But the thing is,
I meant the literal like shots of driving in the desert.
Yeah,
there's just like lots of those.
I agree with you there, and they're incredibly boring. It's I mean, they could have.
They're not shot dynamically or anything. It's like, oh, we'll set up a camera over here and you drive.
Right.
Oh, now we're gonna set up a camera, down the road and do it all over again.
That's exactly right. Yep, that's it.
Oh, this time we're just gonna reverse the footage. Don't worry. I don't think they did that.
Let's mess with the color a little bit. Now it looks a little bit later in the day. Yeah.
Yeah. But like I said, lots of driving the desert. They're talking about the plan to invade Frogtown, which Sam hates. Spangle again brings up their contract that he doesn't really have a choice. They start arguing, and Sam throws like the contract out the window, and then they dump him on the side of the road. And now it's night again. That's how long they've been driving and arguing. And Sam's like, oh, fine, I'll just walk, and starts walking the opposite direction the car is driving. After he walks for, a few steps, the ECR starts beeping. So he's like, oh, God. So he starts like running back as far as he can after the car. Eventually, he reaches where they've set up another camp. So now we're basically spent just a few minutes in daytime. Now it's another night camp scene.
Right.
But again, I'm sure it's a money thing. They shot, I'm sure, both of these evenings in the same, at the same time.
Right. And what's going on, like, isn't terrible, but in my mind, I was just like, can we have another action scene soon, please, or something?
Yeah, not a lot of action scenes.
Well, not until they get to Frogtown.
Yeah. So anyways, he gets there to the camp. He's exhausted. They give him some water. Then another something else starts beeping, and Sam freaks out. But nope, it is a motion tracker in their car. So Spangle tells everybody to jump in the med tech car. They jump in, and they're basically chasing a woman that we see that's like running around aimlessly in the desert at nighttime. They eventually chase her down. Spangle says that the test, she pulls out her tricorder and says that the test says that she's fertile. So now they bring her back to the camp, and she won't eat. So then Sam says, well, let me try. And Sam goes over there and, talks to her very gently and is very kind of caring. And this is kind of like the first inclination, because the whole time Sam's kind of been very gruff and like kind of leaning into his reputation of being this criminal.
Right.
And this is where you first start to see that maybe Sam isn't quite what he appeared to be.
Right.
Because he seems very genuine in trying to get her to like eat the soup. She puts a little bit of her mouth, but then spits it all over him. Then Spangle just gives her a shot, the woman that they found, to calm her down, to her exposed buttocks, of course.
Wait, was that shot to calm her down or to make her more in the mood?
I think that one is to calm her down, because Spangle says something that she can't work if she's like this, like all like whatever. But maybe you're right. But point is, like, it's leading into like Spangle wants Sam to have sex with her, and then Spangle does it. See, I thought it was way later, because she gives her the shot, because it's like Piper now is like naked except for wearing his ECR, and this is when Spangle says, I gave her something to make her more.
Yeah, that was it, because immediately, Spangle says, all right, go ahead, do your duty, Sam. And he's like, oh, I didn't even get a chance to meet her yet or talk to her.
Yes, well, he says like he can't work like this. And Spangle's like, what are you talking about? And isn't this what you do? And Sam's like, well, he likes to have a bit of chemistry and get to know her a bit first, So again, we're starting to learn that Sam isn't like some like rapist or anything like that.
Right. But Spangle, she's like, well, I can help put you in.
Yeah, she thinks he needs inspiration,
Yeah.
like to get in the mood.
And I mean, I guess like, yeah, what the funny thing is, all right, so the lady who was wandering on the desert, she's pretty filthy, and they didn't even.
Oh yeah, that's another thing. He says that she's like dirty.
Yeah, and you'd think to help out Spangle, she could just be like, all right, well, let's clean the lady off, and we'll put you in a tent so you can do whatever. No. Spangle goes, oh well, I'll just arouse you with the seductive arts, which I also am trained in. And
Yep.
so she strips down. This time she's just wearing regular lacy lingerie, no longer the camouflage stuff. Her order from the Sears.
She's switching it up, keeping it
Yeah,
fresh.
the Sears catalog must have come in between scenes or something. So yeah, and I mean, I guess sure enough, that was the inspiration that Sam needed.
Well,
And,
well, doesn't Sam kind of go, thanks, but no thanks. I'll be fine. And like, because, and then he tells her to like take off her glasses. He tells her to stop dancing and to like take off her glasses. Um, but anyways, like it's weird. Like the woman that they found, she's like, this whole time she's been like moaning on the ground and touching herself. Like basically, she's like acting a little bit like a cat in heat.
right.
Um,
Yes.
Making noises and that kind of stuff. And I don't know, man. Like I found this whole thing like really weird because it's like, okay, so Spangle gives her like a shot or something to make her like
Aroused.
basically
Yeah.
aroused, right? And then Sam goes, and Sam doesn't have a choice anyways.
Right.
So he sleeps with her, but it's like basically, I mean, they're still like assaulting this woman, you know. And then what makes it even weirder to me is that the next morning, um, Sam and her are, and the woman are like all cuddled up,
Yes.
and as we'll see in a later scene, like when they depart with from that woman departs, like she gives Sam like a hug and a kiss, and she's like gonna miss him, and it's like, what is this? Like you still essentially got assaulted. Like it was,
What's even weirder
and
than that, I think, is that okay when they first captured the lady or from the desert, she's basically like feral. They're like asking her questions, and she's
yeah,
not answering them. So then, after all the stuff you just said, the next day after the act happens between her and Sam, she's all of a sudden normal. So,
yeah.
so
Now
basically,
the only thing I could think of is like, okay, so when it is the next morning, Spangle comes out, sees them cuddling, and by the way, here there's been a couple times where we can see that Spangle's a little jealous. Uh, so should point that out. But Spangle asks Sentinella, like, "Oh, did you clean her up?" And she goes, "No, I didn't." And she's like, "Well, who did?" And she like, nods over to Sam Hell. So Sam cleaned her up, gave her a bath or whatever.
and
Uh,
somehow that restored her humanity, or maybe
it
it
has
was.
restored her ability to talk.
Or it's just, that's just what Sam Hell has going on downtown. Like the ability to fix people with mental disorders with his ability to have
I
sex.
guess so. And the thing's like so weird to me that they did the whole shot thing is because they've made it pretty clear. They've established that like everybody like wants to get pregnant or like, impregnate somebody. Like that's a big deal in this
Just like
society.
real life.
So
Yep.
you could, right. So you, so you could have just had Spangle or somebody tell her, hey, this guy's fertile. We'd like to, and just have her be like, oh, yes, I would love to have a baby. You didn't have to make it this weird kind
But
of
she
like
was feral
assault.
for some reason, you hell.
But that what I'm saying is like that could have been the thing that like snaps her out of because she had been captured by the frog, she escaped.
Right,
So
right.
like that could have been the thing that kind of snaps her back to reality or whatever,
I mean, I get what you're saying. I mean, the whole thing in our current day climate would never work.
I gotta be honest. I think it's weird for any time.
It is. I mean, it is a
Like
little weird. I mean, we just have to say that it's
because
just a movie and move
yeah.
on.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
but the thing is like we're supposed to like Spangle, especially by the at least by the end, we're supposed to like Spangle. So it was just a weird thing to do with one of your characters that's supposed to be one of your heroes, I thought.
No, you're absolutely right. But at the same time, it's like the whole like crux that this movie was built on. It's so
Yeah, I
bizarre.
mean the whole premise is bizarre. I agree. I
Yeah,
agree. But
like
anyways,
yeah. Anyway,
just a little weird. It kind of took me out of it
sure.
a little bit. But anyways, yeah. So like I mentioned, it's the next morning. They're cuddling. Blah 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 blah. The girl's now talking and gives them info on where the other girls that are captured in Frogtown where they're located. Spangle gives the girl a bracelet
Hmm.
and tells her like it's like this like tracking bracelet, and then just tells her go south, and someone from the border patrol will pick you up.
Right.
The girl gives Sam a hug and a kiss, and again Spangle seems jealous, and the girl is now very thankful.
Yeah, see, I think they're doing their best to try to make it, to make Sam seem like a romantic and that he's not just, some guy like you who just
Yeah,
burns through girls every other night of the week.
yeah. I mean, they've definitely do a good job of like kind of doing a twist on Sam's
Hmm.
character. And I think the reason why it works is because he never does anything really like bad to any of the
No,
women, and not unless it's against his will, basically.
right.
And they make it clear like he doesn't really want to do this, but he basically has no choice, or they'll make his junk explode.
Yes.
So, anyways, now Spangle is getting dressed in like BDSM gear, basically, and lingerie,
Hmm.
including a collar around her neck. And Sam's like, "Oh, I'm gonna like this." So basically, the cover is gonna be that she is Sam's prisoner when they go
Hmm.
into Frogtown, and that he's selling her off
Right.
or trying to barter her
As
off
you
to,
do.
as you do, to one of the big frogs in charge or whatever. And Sam's like, yanking on the collar,
Hmm.
around her neck, and they're kind of making jokes back and forth, and it's like it's like somewhat flirtatious, like back between them, but also you can kind of tell like they both really are getting on each other's nerves.
Yes, yes, but then also both secretly want each other for certain.
Right,
Hmm.
right. Yeah, I mean, they both do a pretty good job of playing the part.
Hmm.
Um, so then Piper, they get to like this like they walk out there and they get to this section just before they go in, and Piper does the thing, takes off her glasses, lets her hair down a little bit, and it's like, now you look good.
Yeah, it's the not
The
another
80s.
not another teen movie, where
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
So they finally walk into Frogtown, and you hit it right on the head because this is like about 40 minutes into the movie.
Hmm.
So like just about the halfway point. And they're like the location is like this kind of like a rundown industrial, again, Mad Max-ish kind of
Sure.
location. They're in a building that looks like it's made out of tin,
Yeah.
basically. We see like there's like this go-go dancer,
Yeah.
and they shot it from like the bottom up, and she's like fully clothed, and then as it gets up closer to her face, you see it's like a frog.
Right, right. And this is basically like, I don't know, you can call it like a cantina style scene like from Star Wars.
Yes,
Yeah.
I wrote in my notes. This is very Mos Eisley.
Yes, absolutely. The most Mos Eisley.
Yes. Yeah. So, anyways, yes, like Steve said, it's super similar to the cantina scene. We get like shots of, patrons at the bar from all around. They're all wearing like weird outfits. You see like, different kinds of frogs.
Hmm.
I mean, it is almost like beat for beat, like the intro to Mos Eisley, including when they walk into the Frogtown bar or
Yeah,
whatever.
there's definitely some sprinkling of Star Wars in here.
Yeah. And I'm not saying it's bad. I mean, that is how you should shoot this
Sure.
scene. You should show like the weird frog characters all around, show this like set that you built, and then do a shot of your heroes walking in and being like, where the hell are we?
Right, right.
Yeah, I mean, you should absolutely do that. So that I don't think that that's a bad thing. I mean, like Mos Eisley, that scene is a ripoff like old westerns where that
Right, and
happens.
also as we're about to see, because I think there's a straight up reference to like a Humphrey Bogart movie. I'm not sure which one. It might be like Treasure of the Sierra Madre or the Maltese Falcon, where they go meet with who's the frog with the fez on? Do you remember his name?
The one that Sam Hell talks to for a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah.
Leroy.
Yeah, that is like a straight up reference to one of those Humphrey Bogart movies. I think like that would be like the Peter Lorre role, basically, where they're
Oh.
making a deal for the Maltese Falcon or something like that. So yeah, there's influences all abound, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. But anyways, we get the scene now where oops, sorry. So there is a funny scene here where one of the frogs at the bar looks at them and says, there goes the neighborhood.
Because the humans
Because
are,
there's like these
yeah.
humans are, yeah. So I did think that that was funny. What did you think here, now that we're seeing some of the frog characters, what did you think about the frog makeup?
Oh, I thought it was pretty fantastic.
It's pretty good. I was
The
surprised.
faces are very, they can get across their emotion. Like the lip sync with the ADR is pretty good. Yeah, I mean, I don't.
There's a few background frogs and some of like the guards and like kind of goon frogs. Those don't look as good, they're very stiff. But the ones that are like the hero frogs that you see up close, those all look pretty good.
Yes, I agree.
Alrighty, so now we see that at the bar, who happens to be there? Sam's old friend, Looney Tunes. They call him Looney Tunes because he's so crazy. Anyway, so Looney says he's there because he found some uranium nearby, and basically, like the frogs dig it up and give him, excuse me, a percentage of him, and that they're sell it to somebody he doesn't know who.
Right.
Which, to the script's credit, comes back. I thought it was just like some throwaway thing to establish
Yeah,
him.
I was pretty
so
impressed with that.
I was pretty impressed as well. Looney offers to set, they kind of tell Looney that, I'm sorry, Sam tells Looney, that he's there to barter Spangles off, and Looney offers to set him up with Leroy. Then so Looney sets up the meeting very quickly, and then Sam and Spangles, they start walking over to meet Leroy, but the frog go-go dancer goes up to Sam and Spangle and says, "I love you," and then walks off. And Sam's like, "What the hell?" And then Spangles is like, "No, that's a secret code. She's like our person on the inside. It means everything's going according to plan."
You know what that scene reminds me of? Remember, I think it's Naked Gun 2.5, where the code word is also like "I love it," and he falls into the bad guys and he's surrounded by them, and they're like, "Why are you wearing a scuba suit?" And he's like, "I've been swimming in raw sewage. I love it." Do you remember that?
Yeah, yeah. We should cover the Naked Gun movies one of these days.
Sure.
I think at this point they're obscure.
Okay.
So Looney, we meet Looney the frog, and he's eating some kind of ground lizard and turtle paste. Leroy is dressed kind of like a Miami Vice kind of character.
Yeah, it's the Fez that really brings me back to like, Humphrey Bogart films. But yeah, his white suit is very, very Miami Vice-ish.
Yeah. So Leroy offers Sam some beer. Sam drinks it and is shocked that it's real beer, and it's a Coors specifically. And Leroy makes a quip about how like they found it when they were digging up some of the uranium, and that it's only slightly radioactive.
Right. I also like, Sam has to eat like the frog food in order to curry favor with the Fez frog here.
Yeah. So Leroy says that he hasn't seen anything like Spangles since some other person brought some wenches here. Leroy starts yelling, kind of out of nowhere, about how the frogs, were created by their war, but then the humans herded them away like cattle to places like Frogtown. Sam's like, "Hey, that wasn't me, like, blah, blah, blah. I'm not the one that did that to you." So they, Sam kind of like calms them down. They start negotiating over Spangle. Leroy explains that he doesn't want a sex slave. He wants an attraction to improve attendance. Just like Vince McMahon saw the Big Show and said, he's going to be an attraction.
God. Sure.
Sam, says, "Oh, yeah, she's a very good erotic dancer," and like Spangle's like hitting him under the table and stuff. But then another frog named Bull shows up and is basically mad that Leroy was doing a private barter for her. He says that's against Toadie's law. There's a pretty funny scene here where like Leroy or somebody tries to explain what's going on, and Bull yells, "Shut your hole!"
Shut your hole!
Do it. Yeah, but the way he does it, like the delivery
Oh,
is
it's so awesome. It reminds me of
hilarious.
something
It's the best part of the
Matt
movie.
Berry.
It's the best part
Yeah,
of
I
the movie.
think that clip has shown up on my TikTok. But yeah, it's not. I just picture Matt Berry doing that voice.
I can see that.
100%.
Yeah, and just the voice of Bull and the way he talks is just very funny in
Oh yeah, it's
general.
very
Uh,
operatic. I love it. Yeah.
I gotta be honest, I was a little mad once Bull showed up because Bull is such a good
Hmm.
character. I was mad that he's not in the movie
Yes,
very much.
he should have been the big bad because we barely even get to meet the General Toady or whatever. He just
There was no need for Toady. I mean, there was no need to have Captain Devlin turn out to be the bad guy.
oh, spoiler alert. Oh, by the way, everybody, you can watch this on Tubi. Link in the description.
Yep. And if you don't like Tubi, it's also on demand on Pluto TV for
There you
free.
go.
But yeah, I mean, I was really like disappointed that Bold wasn't, used
Me
throughout the
too.
movie more. And then if you really want to bring it back to Captain Devlin, have him be like Bull's one of his underlings or something,
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Because I also didn't like Bull Captain Devlin being in charge. But anyway, we'll get to that. So Bull says Toadi's law, that is illegal under Toadi's law, and that the deal just got, and that he's canceling their deal. Bull tries to auction her, but he's not really doing it like earnestly. He names like everybody gets excited when he says he's gonna auction her, and then when he says the price, it's a price nobody at the bar can even
Right.
pay. So they all get disappointed, and he's like, "Oh well, I guess I'll be taking her." Sam says that whatever the price offered wasn't good enough, but Bull knocks Sam out with a punch to the stomach. Uh,
Yeah. I mean, I guess
Knocks him
he
unconscious.
knocks him back, and I guess we could assume he hits the back of his head on something and then falls
I
unconscious.
guess. Yeah, very
But
odd
what is
choice.
the currency that the frogs use? Do you remember?
I don't. What was it?
Lilies, like lily pads.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. It's pretty funny. I actually it totally went over my head. So yeah, so then Bull takes Spangle away, yelling to Leroy. And Bull yells to Leroy that he shut down the bar until Toady says otherwise. And that is the halfway point of the film, Steve, if you'd like to pick
All
it up.
right. I've been tagged in, so here we go. Sam Hell wakes up to the frog lady, Arabella, giving him a drink and once again saying, I love you. And she says the bar is now closed because I guess Bull closed it down. I guess they didn't have like a different set for them to go to that day. Whatever, it still works. She says she has sworn to fight Commander Toady to the death. Then we cut to Spangle. She's been tied up and being sort of, led away by some other frog warriors or whatever they are, or bull, if you will. And she tries to escape, but no good. Now Arabella tries to get Sam to have sex with her, but of course he doesn't want to. But then he offers her a burlap sack to put on her head. Yeah, I mean, do what you will with that joke. And then basically she puts it on, and they're about to get started, but his crotch starts beeping, and he's like, "Oh, that means Spangle is out of range." So this is when he actually follows like the tone of the beeps in order to find Spangle, who's basically just surrounded by frog warriors and other toads at this moment, including a guy in a gas mask who is obviously you don't know at this point unless you haven't figured it out.
Right.
It's Sergeant Devlin or Captain, whatever his military rank is. And so Sam's taking this all in, and this was unexpected. He falls off the platform where he's sort of looking down on all this and falls into like a box of guns and gets knocked out again, which, man, they're really using the getting knocked out thing quite a bit here.
Stay.
And then basically Arabella and Looney Tunes, they team up. One of them is supposed to go find Spangle, and the other is supposed to go find Sam Hell. Now we cut to Spangle. She is on a bed surrounded by other women in silky garb. Just imagine like a harem from like
Yeah, basically.
2001 Arabian Nights or something like that. They're all waving their hands around her, and I think they say they're trying to like prime her for her meeting with General Toady, basically. And I'm just waiting for
Yeah.
Bucky O'Hare to show up at some point, but he never does. So, anything to mention about any of those scenes?
No, I mean, I think you pretty well covered it. I think from this one thing I guess we didn't really talk about is like they had asked earlier the one girl that they found in the desert, like why didn't the others escape? And she's mentioned something about they're from a passive sect, so like they won't fight back or try to escape or anything like that, which kind of comes back later in the movie.
Sure, sure. And things really sort of pick up here for the film anyway. They just sort of blaze through to the end, which I think is definitely a good thing. If you've got like low budget, if you're trying to make one, you just want to plow through that thing, man. Don't give anyone any time to think about anything. So Sam is tied up. Bull, luckily, is with him, and he says, "You're in for a night you'll never forget." And then you pick up a chainsaw, and there's a lot of great sort of imagery in this movie. And one of them is Bull here with the chainsaw. It looks awesome. I think that would make a great T-shirt. That and the anti-condom logo that we sort of glossed over at the beginning.
Oh yeah,
You
yeah,
should
yeah.
definitely start wearing that whenever you go to the castle. Meanwhile, Spangle is still like being, worshipped or primed, if you will, from the other ladies. And now we're back with Sam again. Bull is closing in with the chainsaw, but it runs out of gas. I think that sort of same gimmick is used in Army of Darkness, if I remember correctly, or maybe Evil Dead 2.
I think so.
One of those. Bull says he's going to go get more gas. And now...
the way he says it is so dramatic, too.
Yeah, that voice actor is so good. So now we're back with Spangle, and a piece of ribbon triggers her earring, which causes Sam's crotch to beep like it's going to explode. Now we cut to Looney Tunes and Arabella. They're basically closing in, getting closer to finding our heroes. Then Bull comes at Roddy with a newly gassed up chainsaw. And then he decides he wants to cut the belt off. Was that the plan from the beginning, or was he just? I think he was just gonna hack up Roddy at first, but then when the crotch thing starts beeping, I guess the idea is that he's scared and wants to like cut it off because maybe he thinks it's gonna lead people to him or something. But
yeah, I wasn't really. I was kind of confused too by what the original motivations were, but Bull brings up a great point. He's like, why would they kill you and blow your dick off if they need you so badly to like impregnate people? Are you an idiot? And like, it's actually a great point.
They're like pointing out their own sort of plot hole, if you will, and it's good because it sows the seed of doubt into Sam Hell's mind for what we're about to see happen. And this is good because they actually used that sort of switch around once again in Escape from New York, where Snake shows up at the end, because the whole time Snake thinks he's got that the government put a disease in him, and if he doesn't go, I can't remember, I think it's rescue the president, then they won't give him the antidote. And then he shows up at the end, and he's like, ha, we just gave you the common cold. You're going to be fine, Snake. And so you think they're going to do that sort of same bit here. Bull succeeds in cutting off the crotch belt, and he sort of holds it up in front of Roddy, like, huh, you were afraid of this? And like Sam is basically like, oh my God, they were, they fooled me. And then the thing explodes. So it was like a switch. Which then that says, oh, so they are going to stick with the plot hole. Like,
yeah, like it's a little weird. Like they point out the plot hole, but then they like decide to just like stick with it anyway. And it really doesn't make any sense that they would blow him up. Like it really
Yeah.
doesn't. So I was like,
If anything, it should have been just like a mild electroshock. Like if you don't do what we say, we're gonna shock you in your balls, and it's just gonna get
yeah,
harder and harder.
like something that knocks him unconscious or something.
Right. Like and it's weird. This script is like smart and stupid at the same time. Sometimes, depending on where you are. But okay. So now we're back with Spangle. A guard comes to get her, but she basically beats the guard's ass and tries to encourage the other women to revolt. But then other guards come and just take her away anyway. And then those ladies don't even revolt. Like I was kind of expecting them to at some point, but then they never do.
Well, I mean, they kind of do at the very end.
Well, we'll see.
One of them.
Arabella frees Sam. Bull stabs her with a drill bit, which is, I guess, kind of sad. But then Sam kills Bull with. I was so excited here. It looks like Roddy is going for a suplex, but then he just sort of throws him on the ground.
Yeah.
So I put, he kills him with an almost suplex, basically. And I think he stabs him as well, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, with the same drill
Yes.
bit. Like he pulls it out of Arabella. Right. And it's like a huge, it's more like a giant steel rod.
Right. If you've ever seen the Driller Killer, that's what it looks like. So
that's great. Two people now
understand. Just because you don't know about these cult films doesn't mean other people don't. But Spangle is then brought before General Toddy, and it's weird because this is basically our first time seeing him. We don't really get to meet him or see what his character is like, but he does look damn impressive.
Yeah. Like as far as the animatronics, like his eyebrows move, his lips have a lot of articulation, and but again, I would much rather this have been Bull that was a bad guy, like because Toadie's fine, he's kind of fun or funny, but like feels like a step down.
Yes, no, I agree. It's so weird that that Bull he stole the show, and so he wants Spangle to dance, and so she does. But it's not like a erotic dance. It's almost like a Charleston or something like that.
Yeah, it's weird.
So Looney Tunes, we're now with Looney Tunes, and he kills a guard with a flare gun, but the flare continues upwards, and then it signals Sentinella, who had just been hanging out on their sort of pink mobile or pink wagon, whatever you want to call it, this whole time, and she takes that as her cue to basically, come in and get him. Then the General Toady, he then pulls up his sort of kilt dress thing. And I think it's sort of hinted at that I guess he has multiple frog dicks. Spangle.
Right. Well, I don't think it's hinted at. I mean, they pretty much established, that's the three snakes are his three peni, right, if you will.
But I'm just saying they don't show it. They're
no. They just show like his, he's wearing like. Well, I mean, it's hard to tell what he's wearing because it's dark.
It's all black.
Yeah. But like a moo kind of a thing, and
tunic,
there's like three things clearly a tunic. Yeah. There's like three things clearly moving underneath.
Right. Yeah. So
because he's aroused, and doesn't he yell something like "You have aroused the three snakes"?
And
imagine if Bull had yelled that.
Yeah, it would have been so much better. I forget did they even touch on why like a frog man needs a human woman to like arouse? I mean, but I guess the frog woman also wants a human man. Did they explain it?
He's just a freak. I don't know.
It's all about that crossbreed.
I mean, they're mutated raw frogs, mm-hmm. right? So normal rules, I guess, don't apply.
All right, I'll take it. So Spangle kicks him in his three-snaked groin area. In bursts Roddy, shotguns ablazing. He shoots at the general. Sam and Spangle, they basically run away, and now Sam and Spangle, they both have shotguns. I guess like there must have been a deal on shotguns because that's like the only gun they have for the most part in this. And they're sort of talking about their plan. And they mention the past. Spangle sees like a locket around Sam's neck, and she's like, "Oh, that must have belonged to your to your wife. And he's like, yeah, like before the Great War, blah blah. But like they actually have like a little bit of a sort of serious moment here, which is good because you need a nice little balance of like the comedy and the
Sure.
drama and stuff. A little character building right here. Um, and then they see two guards, and in a normal movie, both of them, this is what I thought was gonna happen. So once again, Spangle is kind of like running interference. She gives Roddy or Sam her gun, and she like approaches the guards that like she's a feral woman basically who needs water or something like that. And I was expecting Roddy to show up and blow him up, no problem. I don't know if they were like short on blanks that day or something, but for whatever, they just decided to have Spangle kick both of their asses. And then
Yeah.
afterwards, Roddy shows up and he's like, "Are you sure you need me?" Which is great because like this is from the cover of this movie, you think that this would be a total sleaze fest, like a Dark Stalker or Death Stalker or something like that. But it's very woman empowering, I would say. How about you?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they definitely, there's no wilted flowers here, except for maybe the passive sect, I guess you could
Right,
say.
right.
But even then, at the end, one of them at least kind of, you know, uh, grows past that, if I guess you could
Hmm.
say. So yeah, yeah. I mean, they definitely. I was when I was watching, I was like, man, because I didn't know what it was about, and then I read the description. I was like, oh no. I'm
Was
like,
this after you
this
picked it?
is yeah, yeah, yeah. This is last night when I was like watching. I'm like, oh God, is this just gonna be like super misogynist and blah blah? But they at least like give the women like agency, and they tend to be on the ass kicking end.
Yes, 100%. So yeah, basically that happens. Then Spangle opens up the doors to the harem. Then cut to Sentinella shows up with the pink wagon. She honks her horn, and that signals Sam and Spangle. They basically lead all the girls out of the Toad lair into the wagon. Looney Tunes shows up and he helps like draw some fire. Then he comes out at the end and he is clearly injured, and Sam helps him, which is good because it shows finally that Sam is actually like a real hero or whatever. Then they haul ass out of
Yeah,
there, and basically the frogs they start priming their own vehicle. And there's a lot of real quick cuts here, a lot of close-ups to all like the sort of pieces of their vehicle. You see like a big cannon, and I don't know about you, but I was like, "Whoa, this thing is gonna be badass." It's gonna be like Bigfoot with a bunch of like, basically something straight out of Mad Max, like something from Fury Road.
right.
And then we actually get to see it. Were you as disappointed as I was? And can you describe it?
You talking about like the vehicles at the
Oh, it's not vehicles, you hell. It's one vehicle. The Frogmobile, I called it.
yeah, it's kind of like crappy. Like there's like a cutout in a window for like
Cannon.
a
Yeah.
weapon, and then like another cutout in the window. It was I'm trying to remember what kind of
It's just
car it
basically a
was.
truck, I think. It's just a regular truck with
Yeah, it's like an off-road truck.
yeah. So I guess they didn't have money for Bigfoot. So yeah, they got one of the crew members' trucks, added a cannon to it, and I think like there's a chair on top or something. But yeah, it's not very impressive. But I guess they were working with what they could afford. Now we're back inside the Piper Mobile or whatever you want to call it. Looney Tunes is laying on his back. Then one of the ladies feels like blood from the back of his head. He basically has his last words, and then he dies. Then the frogs shoot at them with their truck tank. Um, and basically now the movie is in full-on Mad Max mode. But
Mm-hmm.
man, they like didn't even try to make it look like they were driving fast. Like the vehicles are so slow. Did you notice that?
Yep, yep. They're being very careful, not to hurt anyone.
Hmm.
Very, very safe set. It's a very safe
Yeah,
set,
well,
Steve.
that's good because there's a lot of you know, I think sort of stories about things that go on Roger Corman's set or went on Roger Corman's sets. But
Oh, really?
yeah, oh, I mean, there's a bunch of stories about it and stuff. But I think for the most part they were ran as professionally as possible. But anyway, So they sort of drive into a kind of canyon thing or whatever, I guess, to try to hide out from. They sort of outrun the truckmobile or bazooka truck, whatever you want to call it. But then uh, Captain Desad or Captain Devlin, whatever you want to call him, he aims a bazooka at our heroes and tells them to get out of the truck, and so they do. And yeah, he reveals himself to be Captain Devlin. He then monologues his plan. He's the guy who is selling uranium to the frogs, right? That was it, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And then he aims.
Well, or no, wait. The frogs were selling uranium to Devlin, who was then giving it to rogue
Oh
scientists
yeah, there.
because
Yeah,
he's making a new nuclear weapon, and then he'll be the only one with a nuclear weapon in the
there you
world.
go. And so then he aims a regular gun at Sam, but I forgot to mention, for whatever reason, it just sort of shows up out of nowhere. Roddy, dressed in full on, grunge apparel, now has a katana or samurai sword on his back. I have to admit, it kind of works for him. He
Yeah,
looks
yeah, yeah.
awesome.
It works. It works. It looks cool.
And so as Captain Devlin is aiming his 45 at this group of people, we get a lot of quick cuts to everyone's facial expressions, looking at the sword, kind of sort of, I guess, sending their telekinetic thoughts to Roddy, you need to do something with your sword. So I forgot to mention, the sort of leader of the harem is she looks like maybe Hispanic or something, lady, and she sort of helps him take the sword out.
Well, he keeps telling her to, give me the sword, give me the
Right,
sword.
right,
And she's like, because she's right behind him, and she's like, I can't, we're passive.
right,
And he ends up convincing her. And by giving him the sword, it was basically just pull the sword out very slightly.
right.
And then he reaches back to
Well,
grab
see,
it.
they felt it was important for her to have a little character arc. So it was good for her to get to, participate. And yeah, he throws the katana, however you want to say it. And I thought it hit him, Captain Devlin, right in the heart. I thought that.
I thought so too, but apparently
Yeah, I
not.
thought that was the end of the movie there. Maybe Roger Corman stopped by and looked at the dailies, and he was like, nah, we need to have more. And basically, Roddy says he's going to go finish it. He tells Smangles that he's going to go finish it. He picks up the katana and a gun, and he starts hunting for Captain Devlin on Vasquez Rocks. Where are we going here? Yeah, it was so surprising that he wasn't dead. And so I guess this plays into it. He finds Captain Devlin laying face down on the rocks, and I guess he's not very good at checking pulses. He sort of kicks the body or whatever, and he thinks that he's dead. And he walks away, but Captain Devlin gets up. Apparently, he was laying on his bazooka. How could you miss that, Sam? How could you miss it? And but even though he has the complete drop on our hero, Sam just goes ahead and shoots him, and then there is an explosion. Yeah, so that's basically the end of Captain Devlin there. There's an
Yeah.
explosion. Sam goes and he finds the pink wagon in pieces and on fire. So you'd think there'd be a more emotional kind of resonance with Sam here, but I guess he's just sort of continues on. Do you think, is he thinking that they're dead at this point? I think that's the idea, right?
I guess, yeah, I think that was the idea. But again, it just, I don't know, a little flat.
Yeah, he never sort of drops to his knees and is like, no, we never get that moment. Um, so Roddy gets the drop on the Toads with the bazooka. He pulls the trigger, but it doesn't work. Then he shoots his gun at the captain or the commander, whatever, general. That's it, but misses. Then General and Sam fight on Vasquez Rocks, and it's a pretty decent fight. I don't know,
Hmm.
especially since you're
Yeah, it was all right.
fighting a animatronic character, basically. It still feels more visceral than when real people fight CGI these days.
So this has to be like an homage to the fight that Kirk had with the
Oh,
Gorn at
oh,
Vasquez Rocks.
100%. Yeah. I would say this fight is a little bit better than that, though. How about you?
No.
No. Oh, come on.
No, it's certainly better, but I mean that bar is very
Yeah,
low.
absolutely. But anyway, so after some fisticuffs, basically Sam gets the drop on the general with the old eye poke. I don't know if that's supposed. I know Roddy used to do that a bit back when he was wrestling. Do you think that's what they were going for, or was it more of a Three Stooges homage?
I mean the fact that there's no like real wrestling connections throughout this, I don't think that I I think it's a
All
coincidence.
right. So it basically knocks him over the edge, but he's still hanging on. Sam reaches for the sword. He reaches and reaches, and he finally gets it. Then he chops the general's obvious rubber hand off. They didn't even try, but it's got its charm. And then basically, he falls to his death. The general does, and then Roddy once again goes over to the flaming wreckage. And I don't know if again, like, I don't know who to blame here, if it's Piper, the director, but I just don't know what he's thinking or feeling. It's like it's not having any effect on him. But it doesn't matter because the girls are all fine. They come out from behind like a cavern in Vasquez Rocks. They're fine. They have a little, cutesy face argument, and then they kiss. For whatever reason, Spangle presses her earrings again, but it doesn't work. Then they have one more sort of classic romantic kiss, and then sent it.
I think she was supposed to be letting him out of the contract or something, or I don't
Yeah, all
know.
right. I mean,
Or
I
not letting him out
can
of the
I can
contract, but
agree with that. But yeah, he already got himself out, which is good. So yeah, it shows now that they're basically, I guess, free to have a relationship. They all pile into the pink wagon for whatever reason. Sam gives Sentinella his wife's locket. I mean, you think he should be giving it to Spangle, but
Spangles,
the
yeah.
thing is that
Well, I actually think I get why, because he tells Sentinella here something for you, to keep you company when you're lonely, and like Spangled, not Spangle, Sam doesn't need it
mhm.
anymore in his mind because now he's got Spangle.
Oh, yeah. Well, I like that. I like that.
I can't believe you missed
But
that.
the funny thing here is that we all think, oh, I now it's time for them to have a nice monogamous relationship. But oh no, Spangle is says, well, after you're done fulfilling your duties, maybe I can schedule us some time off. And he's like, what do you mean duties? And then there's like they look behind and there's like a full shot of all like the harem ladies all looking at Sam, and and then he goes, oh, well, I guess a soldier's work is never done. And then that's so
And then the Full House theme
yeah,
plays.
basically. And so what we're saying here in 1988 that it's perfectly okay for Roddy Piper to go impregnate as many women as possible, and Spangle will still accept him at the end of the day. That is almost the same plot of Poor Things, basically, or the same theme as Poor Things. Which, yeah, so there you go. And that is Hell Comes to Frogtown. Any more comments on the ending there?
No, no, I think you nailed it all.
So, all right.
Just like Sam.
Oh, zing. All right, are you ready to render your verdict?
Yeah, let's do it.
Remember, we moderated. That's the question.
All right, Yahel Comes to Frogtown. Are you ready to either cast Hell Comes to Frogtown into the black void of obscurity, or should it be remembered for all of human history?
I think you're gonna be surprised. I did not enjoy this
What?
nearly as much as I thought I would. I
Oh,
know it has its moments. I guess because of the clips I had seen, I was expecting it to be not that it's not campy, but like more campy than it is, a lot more campy than it is. And I thought it was gonna be more like that. I agree with you that it's like not as serious as They Live, but at the same time, I feel like it takes itself too seriously for too much of it. Like once they get to Frogtown, like that's fun when they're like dealing with the frogs and stuff. But to be honest, like a lot of the stuff before that, outside of a few like, yeah, a funny line here or there, like I was pretty bored
Oh,
throughout a lot of it.
oh.
So for me, it's a begrudging. I just can't recommend it to somebody. It's not so bad it's good, but it's not so good it's good. I would say maybe watch from when they get to Frogtown forward. Watch the second half, I guess.
So that's a obliterate for you.
Yeah, I think it's an obliterate for me.
Wow. Well, I think it's at least worth.
I know, and I picked it.
I think it's at least worth a one-time watch, especially if you're a Roddy Piper fan or if you're a fan of practical effects. I don't know. It's
Okay, that's fair. That's
it's
fair.
fun. I mean, it's not like the best B movie of all time, obviously, and it's not even one of Piper's best filmography. Like, what did you think of his performance in this? We never really even touched on it.
Oh, he was good, but I mean, he's a good actor. He's always
I mean, I
good.
think this is definitely early in his career when he was still getting his method down. Basically, there's some really
Yeah, yeah.
cartoony stuff that he does, but I think fits within the tone of Frogtown here. I
If anything, I wish other people would have come up to his cartoonish level.
I mean,
Because the only one that really does is Bull and Leroy.
yeah, I mean, if they probably should have pushed the over the topness a little bit more in order to make it like, a classic. I think, I don't know, in the world of B movies, this would probably be a C minus or a C plus. I think it's definitely worth at least one watch, but your mileage may vary. So it looks like we've got ourselves another old-fashioned stalemate.
It's just in, those pathetic podcasters known as Obscurity Now have once again rendered a verdict of no contest. That's right, a stalemate. They've wasted everyone's time. They are just as lazy as Congress and twice as corrupt. Boo, I say, tar and feather 'em. Get out the guillotine. Boo to stalemate, and boo to Obscurity Now.
All right. Wow. Is this two stalemates in a row? What did we
I think
what did we
so. I
watch
think
last
so.
week? Um Mighty Max. Yeah, you didn't like that one
Oh,
either.
yeah, Mighty Max. Yeah, yeah.
Uh
Yeah, I wasn't a fan.
you just hate everything, you hater. You incel. Everything you hate makes you a racist.
I mean, I wanted to like it. I really did, but
I'm just
to
razzing
me,
you.
it just wasn't. I don't know. I just really was expecting it to be like worse. I guess, or
It was too competent
like
for
just
him.
goofier. I mean, I did appreciate that they tied, a lot of things together. But yeah, I just really thought it was gonna be like goofier. I thought it was gonna be more like the clips I've seen of out there, but the clips that I've seen are like goofy ones from when they're in Frogtown.
Yeah, I really wonder like how they sort of manage the schedule of the directors. Like, was one of them the director for like one half the movie, and the other one was the director for the other half of the movie? Because I mean, as we said, the first half of the movie, is a little, it's got its problems, but then it really picks up when they get to Frogtown, and I don't know. I guess. I mean, actually, there is some trivia here. That's kind of interesting. I think we already talked about most of it, but just before we sign off here, at one point they were considering Tim Thomerson to play Hell. And do you know who Tim Thomerson
Yeah, I saw that.
plays?
No, I had never heard of him before I saw that in the
Oh,
trivia.
he's from the Trancers. Like, there's like 5 Trancer movies, which are awesome. We need to cover them someday. But he plays a guy in there named Jack Death. So we got Sam Hell, Jack Death, Ash
Jack Death.
Williams. They all need to get together and make a band or something, or just be in the same movie. And let's see. We already talked about Vasquez Rocks. Oh, another person who was being considered for the part was Danielle Stern, but he wanted to change a lot of aspects of the character. Could you imagine Daniel Stern in this role?
Not really.
It'd be so weird. And then they talk about the remakes. If you thought this movie wasn't that great, the remakes are a million times worse. Or not remakes, the sequels are a million times worse. Let's see here. Yeah, I think that's basically it. I don't know about you, but I'm about to turn into a puddle of sweat. So,
yeah, I'm a little warm.
So I doubt you'll want to watch the Return to Frogtown sequel, or would you?
Maybe next year.
Next year.
I'm not opposed to watching it, but not anytime soon.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's going to do it for this episode. Please subscribe and like and comment. Help us fight that ugly algorithm. And we'll see you next Sunday as we continue to unearth more obscure media only on Obscurity Now. See you next time.
You've been enjoying Obscurity Now, a podcast that's recorded live to tape and streamed to Twitch and YouTube. Subscribe so you never miss an episode or hilarious quip. Take us with you by following the download links provided in the show notes to wherever you get podcasts. And take notice of our various social media links. If that's what you're into, I'm not here to judge. And make sure you join us live next week at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific as we continue to discuss more obscure media only on Obscurity Now.